Alex Tremble, Silverado High School graduate, sits down with his former high school counselor, John Pinkerton, and Joseph W. Brady.
I've never heard. Today is the first time you've ever called me John.
John Pinkerton and Joseph W. Brady, both Victor Valley College board members, the interview a part of Alex Tremble's series on leadership.
Joe, John, if that's okay, I can use you guys as first name today. I know you're men of power, but thank you so much for joining us on this talk today, which is really geared towards providing government employees all across this country with the leadership and the experience and the knowledge that you people in senior level positions have. So thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having us.
So
I don't know if we're individuals of power. We might be individuals of influence, but not of power.
Well, let me ask you on that one real quick. Influence versus power. What's the difference?
With influence, you have to gain, in our case, a 5-member board. You need to be able to convince 3 other board members to see something collectively and agree on that and go implement it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I think sometimes when people think they have power, they force it down people's throat, and that's not you can't run any kind of a governmental entity when you're trying to dominate people by power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I see you smiling. Do you have any thoughts on that topic?
Well, actually, it's only convinced 2 others.
Why?
On a board of 5, all you need to do is pick up 2 others.
Okay.
So, now I heard a mayor that I ran against for the congressional district one time say that sometimes it was harder to get that 1 vote to make a difference than it was to get thousands of votes in a region.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And now being on the board with Trustee Brady, we don't always agree on everything, but I understand that it takes some doings to get 4 and 5 members to agree with stuff, and we do that. So I find that when Trustee Brady and myself agree, we usually pick up the others.
So I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole in just a minute, but I want to pick up on something that was said. When, as a leader, does it make more sense to focus on the 2 votes or securing the support of a smaller group of people versus when is it best to really try to reach out, I guess, and try to bring everyone aboard? When you make that decision, when it's best to focus on the smaller group versus everyone?
I think it really depends upon the topic.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a topic that's easy to dissect and it's easy to bring people on in and it's easy to say to somebody, okay, we're gonna look at your angle and your angle and your angle, but it's not like allocating dollars. If you're allocating dollars on issues, you can try to get people's support. Okay, Alex, if I give you this and you give me that. I think a lot of it's give and take, but I think it's really on a topic by topic basis. Because there's some people that, it's if you got in, there's so many topics that we deal with that can be divisive.
Yeah.
But I think, as John said, that one of the things that I think our board has seen is if the 2 of us can agree, more times than not, the balance of the board agrees. And there was a period of time where we did not have 5-0 votes.
Yeah.
They were 2-3 or 3-2 or 4-1, and they were very polarizing. And I think that, once we, really did a soul search as a board, and then more importantly, I think we hired the right leader.
Mm-hmm.
Our job as board of trustees, our number 1 job, is to hire the president and superintendent.
Yeah.
We're not there to pick the color of the paint in the bathroom. We're not there to tell you what kind of curriculum. We're not there to tell you how to graduate. Mm-hmm. Our job is to hire that person, then the employees work for him.
Yeah.
And or that person. So, yeah.
Sorry, Joe. John?
Well, we set the vision.
Yep.
And we've done a heck of a job setting the vision, deciding what our priorities are. And I'm very proud of that work. I'd like to say, I'm hoping you're going to take this back to Washington, D.C. and teach them how people of different stripes, political stripes, ideology, maybe beliefs about what's important, you take that back. And we need it in this district too, in our area, because right now we're pretty polarized out here too. I watch Facebook all the time and see where people's thinking are. Well, this guy and I have decided that we were going to prioritize. We were going to focus on a couple of things. One being our students and what's good for our students. Another being our community and using our resources wisely. And we've done those things. We've shown that you don't have to agree on everything. Mm-hmm. If you focus on those things you do agree on, you can get a lot done, like we have gotten done.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put a pin in that one because I want to talk about that in a second. Joe, you have, don't mind me sharing this, you have 5 brothers?
There's 4 brothers.
4 brothers.
Five boys total.
So there's 5 of you guys.
Yep.
But also I've heard there's technically 6 of you guys.
Yep.
Because of John.
Correct.
So you guys seem to be fairly close. And I assume then, because you guys like each other, that you guys agree on most things. Would that be accurate?
That's not accurate.
It's not accurate at all.
There's not accurate. We agree. I believe we agree on the things that matter most, though. Mm-hmm. And that's where we initially focused on those things where we disagreed on, and that got us in a world of trouble. And I don't care if Joe shares, because Joe's very transparent, and so am I. We don't mince words with the public or each other. But I've done some embarrassing things when I didn't see Joe as a brother, and now I do see him as a brother. Yeah. There's a line from one of my favorite movies, Remember the Titans, and for those sports movie buffs, remember when All-State defensive end, what was his name?
I am not a movie. I'm all in Marvel movies. I'm a nerd.
Steve Bertier. When Steve Bertier is in a bad car crash and they're going into the state finals,
yeah,
and he's laying in a hospital bed, Steve Bertier is an all-state defensive end, white boy, bad boy, laying in a hospital bed, and his best friend comes in. Black kid.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, and what's his name?
I can't remember. It's the guy who plays, the guy who plays Falcon in, again, I'm a nerd.
Great actor. He comes in, and he's starting to cry, and Steve Bertier says, "Don't cry, man. Julius." Mm-hmm. He says, "Don't cry, Julius." He says, "You know, I was afraid of you. I was afraid of you, Julius. I hated you. And I realized I was only hating my brother." That, when Joe and I decided that we're brothers and we have more in common than we have that separates us.
Yeah.
When we decided that we're both men, we both put our pants on one leg at a time, we both have our flaws, we both sometimes suffer from too large of egos. But when we start to see each other as, no, we're brothers. We got more in common, and we can do good things for our community. And we started to see the power that we had to do good things was more important than those things that separated us. I'll tell you, we've been rocking things since then. Mm-hmm. It's been 6-7 years now.
Yep. And I mean, Joe, I intentionally asked that question because I know that you guys don't agree on everything. But also, how did you get to this point? You know, I've heard that in the beginning you guys were kind of clashing, but how did you move to this point where you could work together, even respecting each other's differences?
We weren't clashing. We were seriously fighting. No, I mean it was a serious fight. I mean, there's, it was real intense.
Yeah.
There were a couple times, I told Sir John once that we were having a debate about something. This is about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was sitting to the left of him. I think he was board president, and I got him so worked up that I took my chair and I slid it back so that my rear was kind of on the edge. I was waiting for him to swing, and I thought, no, seriously. I thought, okay, swing, I got you. Now you're out of here. Mm-hmm. Okay. We had another board member who We were in the back room, and I had my finger so close to his nose I could have picked it.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was I wanted him to swing because I had a security guy standing outside the door. So I thought, okay, if I can't beat you here, I'm going to beat you again.
Yeah.
What I think that John and I finally figured out was this. When you talked about the comment about there's 5 boys in our family, there's 4 brothers, and I consider John my 6th brother, and I've been very public about it. Some of my brothers and I don't agree on anything,
Yeah.
except that we had a mom and dad, and because we haven't been around each other for that long. John and I don't mix. The things that we disagree are really trivial,
Yeah.
because they have nothing to do with what we're trying to do at the college. The bigger picture is we are there to be sure that we give the best education for the best price to 17,000 students.
Yeah.
We are there to ensure that we hire the best professors, the best faculty, the best CSEA members, the best AFT members. The difference that we have is I look at the bucket of money as a bucket, okay? In my business, we can't give raises every year. In my industry, we don't give a step and column every year. In my industry, if like right now where the world economy is going to go, nobody in my office is saying, hey, when am I going to get the next raise? What everybody's saying is, God, do I have a job?
Yeah.
Okay? And as I said to them recently, don't worry, you will have a job. So after John and I got through the minutia, okay, of saying, okay, well, you're supported by this. And at one time, he was heavily supported by a couple of constituency groups that did not like me at all. And I think that the more that he was telling them publicly in the meetings that we were not only getting along, but we could figure out our differences and talk out our differences, we saw less of them at the meetings. Things got better at the college. But let me go on back. I think that one of the things that we did as a group, so this wasn't Joe or John. This was Joe and John and Dennis Henderson and Lori Denson, who was here. We had a major vote to bring in Dr. Roger Wagner that began on July 1st of 2018. Dr. Wagner was a servant leadership leader, okay? Most of us were not aware of what servant leadership meant.
Yeah.
But we all know what Southwest Airlines is. We all know what Starbucks is.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, those are 2 major philosophies that are carried by those 2 companies. So when Roger came in, Roger wasn't a real tall guy, had a short stature to him, but he's one of those people that when he walked in the room, he didn't have to tell you who he was, because you automatically knew. And when we voted on him that night, and I'll never forget it, it was probably the first 5-0 vote we had as a board. And from that point, that I think was the defining moment.
Yeah.
Roger came in and sat us down as a board and said, I've watched you for the last 18 months. He never said shame on you.
Yeah.
He never said you should be embarrassed. He never said, Joe, stop bullying. Okay? He never said that. What we learned how to do was become really, I think, servant leaders in our own way without him showing us how to be a servant leader.
Yeah.
And part of that is kind of backing your ego at the door and doing what is better for the team.
Yeah.
And that's I think what the defining moment was. And then it's just built from there.
I this is why I love doing these interviews, because I get to hear some really cool examples. And one you just said about how you can, using your own family. We all have family members that we love. They're our family members, yet we don't always like them, and we still work with them. So I think that's a great comparison, that you don't always feel like everything someone else does, but you can respect them and understand that you guys have a number of similarities.
We also sat down. I'm one of those people. If you and I have a difference, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. I'm going to email you and ask you out for coffee or lunch or dinner or beer.
Yeah.
Okay. That can be intimidating to somebody if they know we have a problem. So I hit those things head on.
Yeah.
And I've always been known to that.
Yeah.
Recently, I had to read a letter to a board up here of 30 members. And it was a very candid letter that I had thought about for months and wrote it and delivered it. And when I was done, what the message was, we've had our differences in the past. We're going to have our differences in the future.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we need to work together for the common good of this entity, the particular entity that we were talking about, and more importantly, the good of the region here. So sometimes I think we all have a problem putting our egos at the door. And once you do, and I call you and say, hey, Alex, let's sit down and have coffee, and you go on home and say to your friend, your spouse, your whatever, Brady called me. Some people say, well, that's intimidation. No, it's not. Let's sit down and figure out where we have common ground.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do. I wish they would figure it out in Washington and in California. It is not hard to do.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, actually. There's nothing else to add on to that. I want to ask you guys another question. So you guys, again, are both respected you have different sides on certain issues, and you're both respected on your sides on those issues. But as a leader, if you work with the person on the other side, does your side now believe that you're not pure enough? And then how do you deal with that? And these are the people who are on your side. How do you deal with, you're doing the right thing, we're working together, but maybe people aren't now thinking you're pure enough? How do you?
I don't think it's ever been an issue for either one of us. John's very clear. I'm very clear.
Mm-hmm.
But there is consensus in the middle.
Nobody tells either one of us what to think or what is right. We both consult with a variety of sources, and no one tells me which way to go on something. I think even Brother Joe early on thought that I got cues from people on how I vote. I think one time he even told folks that I was watching for Sharon, and if I was going to get cues, it would be from Sharon, because
I did.
Sharon's your wife.
Yeah.
No, she was sitting on the audience, and I'm watching her because I was told, okay, so this is small town, 500,000 people, okay, watch Sharon. So I did. She's thinking, why is Jill watching me? And I'm not overstepping my bounds.
Yeah.
But I'm watching. Is there a cue? Is there a hand signal? I mean, is it like the Houston Astros, maybe? You never know.
So one example of where I parted ways with my wife was Joe and I paired up on on Joe's prayer initiative for the college, and I think people assumed that I would go against Joe on that. And I was surprised because those people that know me know that I believe in prayer, and I believe in the power of us uniting in that way. So Sharon, who I do trust her advice on many, many things, but she advised me to stay away from that. She felt like it would be a distraction, and she had good reasons. And there were some other influential people in the community that was opposed to it, and we had some division on the board. That was a 3-2, and it was just assumed that I would be the guy that broke up the prayer party, and I was very clear that I would be supporting it, very clear. And even if it came down to it was Joe and me only supporting it, which it never works that way. If Joe and I support something, it goes through.
Is that because you guys do kind of represent two different sides, and if you guys can come together, people say both sides must be represented at some point?
I think there's just magic. Yeah. I believe I've been saying this for a while. I believe there's magic in the will of the people, and when we come together, I've always said. The middle ground is higher ground. And when we come together, that's where it's at, baby. That's where we get it done. Mm-hmm. And every time Joe and I, and sometimes we come together before anybody even knows what's up. And then things come along. We came together on the supporting of the veterans at our college. Mm-hmm. And we were advised by everybody, no, you're pushing this thing way too fast. And Joe and I said, no, we're not pushing it fast enough. So we're one of the first colleges in all of America to give priority registration to.
We were the first community college in the entire nation to give priority status to the spouse of disabled veterans. Mm-hmm.
Did we wait? Did we wait to get approval, or we had to run it through certain channels and this and that?
Robert Reed Jr., a leader within the region, a leader within Spring Valley Lake, somebody who I've known for a long time, and somebody who actually I did not get along with 25 years ago. Yeah. He showed up at my house one night to say, can we break bread? And we went on the patio, kind of the same thing. Alex, this is not about groups. So, John's been very clear. I'm very clear. I'm a right-wing conservative Republican, okay? But I'm also having, like a lot of people, a problem with the Republican Party because I think that parts of our party are very dysfunctional, okay? John's always said I'm a left-wing socialist Democrat. We're here at a college. Our students don't care who we are. Our students want us to leave our political crap at the door, okay? Because it's not a question of, oh, well, what would the Republican caucus in the county, what would the Central Committee, I don't care what the Central Committee thinks. I don't care what the Republicans think. I care about one thing. I understand the high desert economy. I understand how important that education is. If we don't have an educated economy, we can't bring in good jobs. If we can't bring in good jobs, people can't make money. People can't make money. They can't get together and have relationships. They can't have relationships. They can't have babies. If they don't have babies, they don't buy houses. They don't buy houses. They don't buy one car. They don't buy two cars. Then they don't buy their kids a tennis lesson on a weekend or a golf lesson. So we very seldom ever at our college ever get into Republican or Libertarian or Democrat because we're not there for that. We're not. I didn't run, but I've run 3 times. John's run twice, and I suspect he's going to run this year. We never have run on, I'm a Democrat or Republican.
How did you guys build that courage, though? I feel like a lot of leaders, whether it be in the big P politics or within their own organizations, they sometimes feel like they can't go against the grain. Like, how do you guys build that courage?
This is easy. I'm going to let him take this shot first.
We both, you were there, Alex. You were there, was 8 years ago when I first got on the board. And Joe was having a Christmas party. And he invited us over. And I said, well, I'm going to take one of my boys over. And Joe said, yeah, cool, bring him on over. Okay. On that, that's kind of one of our first meetings outside of the, being on the dais at the college. And Joe was really relaxed, and I guess I was getting more relaxed. And Joe and Deb and Sharon got together, and they both said, they're too much alike. They both got big egos. And I don't think we care so much what the party's telling us. I tick off so many Democrats in this area, is not even funny.
But how did you gain that courage? Like, aren't you?
Because you don't. John has never cared what people's perception was. I don't care what people's perception is. If you like me, great. If you don't, then call. You know, I tell people, if you don't like me, you got 3 people you can call. You can call my wife, best friend and partner. Mm-hmm. You can call my mother. You don't want to do that. Okay? Or you can call God. Because you know what? And I think the reason that we have really gotten along is we don't need to go check the wind. We don't need to ask anybody's opinion. You know, I've been like this a long time. I mean, I've been out here 32 years. Yeah. People know I have an opinion. People will say, if you ask Brady this, I'm going to tell you what I think. Yeah. You may not like what I'm going to tell you, but you know what? We're doing a survey right now of the region, and the input that we have received is not going to be very good. And I know that I could lose some friends. Are they friends or are they people by convenience? Are they relationships by convenience? I look at them as probably relationships by convenience. So, I mean, you only need so many really good friends. He's never worried about what people think. I don't worry about what people think. I worry about what my wife thinks. He worries about what Sharon thinks. He worries about what his kids. But we don't. That's one thing that makes it very easy for us.
I think that's really important because I feel like you can't be an effective leader if. So that's interesting because on one side you have to worry about perceptions because perceptions is a reality. At the same time, you can't be an effective leader if you're not willing to make a decision that's going to piss some people off because leaders have to make tough decisions.
I'll tell you a perception that we have now that we didn't have when we started. And that is that I think by and large the community believes that we want to do what's right by our college. So when we first started, I think a lot of folks was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Okay. The students now for a long time, and a lot of times students don't even know they're trustees. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just
sometimes they don't know there are trustees.
Yeah. I have friends in other parts of the country that go, why? We never even thought about trustees. Well, out here, people know that there is a group of 5 people that represent their college, and they have access to us. I mean, we pick up our phones. You know, they come up to us and say, "Hey, I'm having an issue at the college. You know, can you help us?" They know we care about them.
Yeah.
They really get that idea that, no, we're not just stuffed shirts. I put this on for you, Alex, so I look good today. But we're not just stuffed shirts sitting in a back room, you know, making little decisions that affect their lives, and we don't care.
Yeah.
No, we haggle over stuff because we don't want to screw it up. We're very, very careful about what happens with our college. And I think the perception out there is, yeah, they care.
Yeah.
They care. They really do care about us.
So it sounds like, and I won't, we are going to wrap up, but it sounds like how you've gotten the community to understand that you care about them, that whatever happens, whether you make a decision that people like or dislike, they understand that you guys are doing what you believe is best for the community, for the college. So if you can do that, then that provides you much more room as a leader. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I think,
100%.
but when you go back 6 or 7 years, there was a perception, right, wrong, or indifferent, we've gone past it, that there were influences outside of our board that were controlling some things that went in the college. I will tell you this, Alex. I mean, we all understand that there are groups in this country that have a firm hold on a board or a council or a board of supervisors or president of the United States. Okay, I think that once we got by, I think that once the board created its own identity. But let me go back. About 7 years ago, there was it was called a call to action, and there was a group of community members. Okay, Dr. Pat Caldwell, I mean, a former president, superintendent of a community college. You know, her partner Terry Caldwell, 8-time mayor of the city of Victorville, Diana Carloni, prominent attorney, Holly Noel, Shannon, Tony Penna, Bill Scott.
You're just gonna go to Washington, man. They don't know who any of these people are.
No. But let me tell you what happened. The community came out and said, "Shame on you. You're not doing the work of the college, and you're fighting with each other all the time, and you're not doing the work of the students." And part of it was we didn't have the leadership, and we didn't hire the right leader. The one thing I have learned, and Alex, this took me a while to figure this out. So when I became a trustee, you know, you really think that you're pretty powerful. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. If you came to me right now and said, "Hey, Joe, can you get my kid to the head of the line registration?" No. Can you get my kid a degree? No. Can you get my kid to the head of the nursing class enrollment? No. Can you get me a preferred parking place? No. There is absolutely zero I can do for you personally.
Yeah.
So when you go on out and you're raising dollars in a market like this, I have very little influence on you personally.
Yeah.
If I were a council member, I'm a board of supervisors, I'm an assemblyman, I can carry a bill, I can make a motion for that development project. Now I've got the power. Okay, when you're talking about the power before.
Yeah.
So you know, I think that when we turned as a board, the community said, "Shame on you guys," and there was shame on there were 4 of us and a lady by the name of Lori Denson, who I still deeply miss. And I think that's when we had to kind of learn how to say, we're going to run this as a board, and then bring in the right leader.
Yes.
And when we brought in the right leader, and you know, I think when I look at all 5 members today, all 5 members are very secure. So when you ask the question about John and making a decision, and anybody there, if you're secure within your own skin, you don't have to call anybody.
Yeah.
You know, when Deb and I are driving somewhere, we're constantly talking about things, we're watching the news, but going out there and taking a check of the wind, no. You know, so while we have some great leaders in this country, okay, and I want them to continue. I think what our country has to do is figure out how you take a difference, sit on down, and honestly figure out, not say to the cameras, to CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, Alex and I are going to work together. No, work it out.
Yeah.
If you got to go out in the parking lot and get it over, then get it over. But do what is in the best interest of whatever governmental agency you're working for, because that's what people are voting for you.
So I'm going to ask you guys one last question. I try to ask everyone I interview because it's really always some really great information. What is the best bit of advice that you've ever received? Who gave it to you? And why was it the best bit of advice? You want to start, John?
Yeah, I think one of my mentors is Dean Fowler, the Dean of Boys at the academy I spent 4 years at in high school. And, he always just, he taught me to, through his way of dealing with me, a hard-headed young man that you couldn't tell much. He loved me. He treated me like I was his own. And that's made an impact on me. When you were coming up, I loved you and I tried to treat you like my own. And I've done that for many, many years now. And when I got on that board of trustees, I made the promise to the community that I would always make decisions as if each kid was my kid. And I've never wavered from that. I've never said, yeah, well, they're not my kid. And this is in the best interest of the institution I represent. There's got to be a balance, but that balance has to tip in favor of the individual student. And I've never wavered in that commitment, not once.
Thanks, John. Joe, the best bit of advice that you've received, who gave it to you, and why?
Well, I don't know. At the time of my life, it was advice. I think it was really more of a calling. John and I have a lot of things in common. We both went away to private high schools, and there was a reason for it. I went away. I was not a good kid. I was always in trouble. I was the first of 5 boys. There were 3 boys, and then there was a gap, and then there were 2. I was always blaming people. I always blamed everybody. I blamed John, I blamed you, I blamed everybody for everything I did. And every time I got caught, I would say to my dad, well, Alex made me do it. John put the paint in my hand whenever I did graffiti. At the end of the day, I'd gone to a military school at a very young age. A Marines military school, 7th and 8th grade. Then I went away to high school. And somehow, over that period of time, there were 3 things that I said about my father, who I didn't always have a close relationship with. He was very tough, and we didn't always agree. But there are 3 things I said at St. Brendan's Cathedral down in LA when he passed away. He taught me 3 important things. When you're dealing with people, be sure to deal with people that are good ethics, morals, and values. 2, are they accountable and responsible? But the last thing, and John's heard this, the board's heard this a million times, actions speak louder than words. So I am really, really tough about you saying to me, Joe, I'm going to go out and do X, and I just sit back and watch your actions.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times, and I think John said earlier, you see people on Facebook, okay, boy, it's almost like, wow, I didn't know that was the way that guy was. They always say, put somebody like in a conference room, close the door, and give them a camera and see who they really are. Mm-hmm. So that's how I judge things. And has it created a problem? It creates a constant problem because I'm 63. I'm not getting any younger. I'm more stuck in my ways. But if you say to me, Joe, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, Alex, that's how I'm going to do it. And John will tell you, he'll probably put it on my gravestone. But that is the thing I think my dad taught me, and it took me a really long time to get it because I didn't get it very quickly. Yeah. I was not a very easy learner, and I was a severely challenged young man. But I got it.
Let me jump in here real quick. I know you're closing this, but we talked a lot about hypocrisy, you and me.
Yeah.
We sat down and we said, and that's what bothers both of us.
Yeah.
If we follow this, action speaks louder than words, you don't have to worry about hypocrisy. Not at all. And Joe and I, this is another bond that we have, because we see some hypocrisy in our own area. People talking this talk, but they're walking this walk. And we're like, And sometimes he points it out on my political stripe, and sometimes I point it out on his political stripe. But in our area, one political stripe has dominated the scene. And sometimes they say they're doing this, but sometimes they're walking this way. So I'm just a little old country boy that sits on the board of
That's
trustees.
a story I've heard for a long time. Dude. I'm a little country boy. Yeah.
We're both a little bit country.
I've been using that line with my wife for years. You know what she said, Joe? Get over it. You know, people don't buy that BS with you, but I do. Every once in a while, when I kind of want somebody to feel, I just say, I'm an old country boy.
Old country boy.
She reminded me the other night after we had dinner. She said, he says the same thing you do about being a country boy. I said, well, he is actually more of a country boy than I am, but
You got the hat and everything.
yeah, one of these days I want to get one.
I'm gonna get him one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, actually, before we wrap up, your stories made me think of one thing that's happened recently. I was talking to my niece, and I asked her. She's young. She's 10 years old. I said, what do you want to be good at? What do you really enjoy? And she said, math. And I said, okay, great. I said, what did you do today to become better at math? And she said, I went to school. I said, no, not school. What did you do on your own to get better at math? And she said, well, nothing, because mom didn't. No. Not mom. What mom did. What did you do? Well, mom didn't know. You've been on your phone all day on YouTube, right? Could you have done anything yourself to become better at this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you do it? No. Why don't you go do something? Okay. Checked with her in a few minutes. Wasn't doing it. She's watching YouTube. I share that story to underline what you guys were talking about one, walking the walk and talking the talk. And
it can be very, very, very lonely doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, there are times that I'll walk in a room and I know how lonely it is by making a decision that is absolutely right, but the action speaks louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You got to suck it up and move on. There have been times, John's aware of them, where for 3 years something went on, and then all of a sudden the truth came out. Actions didn't speak louder than words. So, I want to conclude something. I think that he wants to conclude something. We are both incredibly proud of you. You're one of ours. You're from our area. You've done incredibly well. I mean, I get 450 emails a day. But when I get an email from you, 98% of the time I click on it. 50% of the time I read it. And you've done really well. And I mean, we need more people like you here. We need more leaders like you on up here, because this is where we all live, work, and play. And we're all part of the high desert, what we call the Mojave River Valley. So.
I have to snitch something out. So I was checking with the legend up here, Terry Kurtz, and he says to me,
that dude is a legend.
He's freaking legend. So
he should be in the Smithsonian Institute by now.
No, we're not ready for that, because we still need him working. But he said, well, are you sure you want to do this? Because it doesn't look like Alex needs any of our help. And I said, well, no, I don't think he does need our help. But because Joe and I have such big egos, we think we can help Washington, and our boy's going to get this message back to Washington. Work together.
Sir.
And I thank you for coming all the way from D.C. just to interview us, man.
We're proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And I am going to shake your hand, because I'm not worried about getting sick.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you,
It's
John.
so bad I make medicine sick.
Hey, everyone who's watching this video, if you enjoyed this content today, if you found what John and Joe shared to be helpful, please share this with someone else. Again, get this message out, working together, walking the walk, being accountable for one's own actions and success. Thank you again. Everyone have a wonderful day.
God bless you.